Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to color alien skin tones with Copic markers. This video is part 1 of 2. I wanted to split this up into 2 videos so they're not too long. In this first part, I'll show you how to do orange and blue skin tones. These are the 4 characters that I'm going to color. There'll be a link to my DeviantArt in the comment box below. That way you can download the image and follow along if you want to do so. For the orange skin tone, we're going to be using Y17, Y38, R17, and YR07. For the lips, we're going to use Y17, Y38, and R17. First thing I'm going to do is lay down a layer of the colorless blender ink. Copic markers work best wet on wet. You need to be careful, but still work as quick as you can. This tutorial isn't going to cover light source. It's mostly color and which colors you should use. So I started by laying down Y38. This is a honey color, not exactly orange, but the way I add on the oranges will blend it out and bring out the orange in this color. Copic markers, it's better to work quickly because you'll get better blending effects if you work wet on wet. This video is sped up, but I still did my best to work fairly quickly so I could blend as much as I could. After filling in the base color, I add an R17 and draw blush on her cheeks. Then here I filled in her ear because I realized I missed it, and I put a little bit of YR07 at the tip of her ear and then started to use it to blend in the R17 into her cheeks. Then I came back in with the base color, Y38, and used circular motions to try and blend it back into the skin tone. I colored over all areas because it blended the red and the orange together into her face. I then started adding shadows under her hair and eyebrows and neck and arms. And her collarbone. I then brought back the base color Y38 and used it to blend the colors into the skin. I find circular motions work for me, and I try and concentrate on pushing the ink in towards the skin. Sometimes as you do this, you might feel like nothing's happening, but if you keep at it, you'll see the differences. As I blended the YR07, I also added shadows by layering Y38 over other areas that were just Y38. Then I came in and added more shadows under her nose and under her eyes. Then I came in with Y17, which is lighter, and blended over everything. Some people always use the base color to blend everything in together at the end. But Y17 is lighter than Y38, so I thought it would be a better option. For her antenna, I used YR07 as a base color and R17 to shade, then Y17 to blend. I didn't want it to match exactly, but I still wanted to use the same color scheme so that you could tell it's still part of her body. When you use Copic markers, you have to keep in mind how much ink you're blending down and what kind of paper you're using, because the ink being blended and layered together may cause bleeding. And that's it, orange toned skin. For the blue skin tone, I'm going to use BV00, B41, B45, and B99. For her lips, I'm going to use BV00 and B99. Once again, I'm going to start off by laying down the colorless blender ink. For my blue alien girl, I started with laying down BV00 BV00 on her blush areas, like on her cheeks and nose and the tips of her ears and the curve of her breast in that one spot. Then I layered the base color over with B41. I've tried coloring skin before where I lay down the B41 first and then add the blush color, but for blue skin, I like how this looks much better. Work quickly and try and work in sections. You know, don't do like under the bangs and then the ear and then the breast. Try and go up to down or down to up. Just try and fill in everything in a uniform way. Next, I laid down BV00 on the cheeks some more. I wanted the blush to be a little bit darker. Then I pulled out the base color and used it to blend. As I blended the blush color, I also used this as an opportunity to add shadow on the side of her cheek down to her chin. I also added shadows under her bangs and ears and under her neck. I wanted her skin tone to be a light blue, so I didn't introduce dark colors right away. I wanted to start off by seeing how dark a shadow I could get using the base layer layered over itself first. Then I brought out the B45 and added shadows in areas that would be a bit more shadowy, I guess, like under her bangs and in her ears and under her eyebrow ridges. I used the B41 to blend those shadows, using circular motions and concentrating on pushing the ink towards the base color areas. I tried to overlap B41 as much as I can because I want to create as many shadows as I can, but I also wanted to avoid adding too many colors and making her too dark. You should keep adding and keep blending and get to that point where you're like, this is perfect. If I go any further, I'm going to ruin it. And then keep going. Maybe you will ruin it, but maybe you'll learn something. It's when you push yourself that you get the better results, I think, even if you have to go through a few failures. And I took out my very darkest color, B99, and put that under her neck and in her cleavage. I then added B99 to under her ears. Because of their shape, it would create a very harsh shadow in those areas. Then I used B41 to go over the tops of her ears, because the way they're curved, there would be shadows in those areas too. If you want a blue girl that's darker than this blue girl, just use 3 markers that are darker than the ones I'm using and experiment with them. No one showed me how to make blue skin. I just kind of took what I'd learned from coloring regular skin and applied it to different colors. I went over it all with B41 because I wanted the B41 to lighten everything up. If I wanted to keep the intensity of the shadow that B99 makes, I would have blended from B99 to B45, then B45 to B41. But because I didn't want everything so harsh and dark, I just went over it all with B41. Then I used the colorless blender to try and add some highlights in some areas. I added BV00 as the base layer for her lips. Then I waited for that layer to dry and added another layer of BV00 to add some shadow. Then added a small touch of B99 in the center, which I used the BV00 to blend out. Once both of the drawings are dry, I add some highlights with my Sakura jelly pen. For Orange Skin Girl, I added them on her nose and her antenna and her lips and her ears. If I feel like a line's too harsh in a certain place, I smear it out with my finger a bit so it's a little lighter. For such a light-skinned character, I leave the white lines as they are. For Blue Girl, I add highlights as well. If she were a darker skinned blue girl, I may not use such brilliant white to highlight her, but because she is so light-skinned, the white Jelly Roll highlight seems suitable to me. And as you can see, I added in color to the hair and clothes and was good to go. Some advice I'd like to give too is try not just to put all your attention on the skin. It doesn't look very interesting if the skin is beautifully shaded with like 6 different colors, but then the clothing is very flat and boring. Try and give the clothing depth too. Try and add shading and texture and make it interesting. And think of your character as a whole character, rather than a face with clothes. If you try coloring my line art using this tutorial, post a link below or send me a message so I can see what you do. Thank you!